O'clock. Kevin, if you want to start talking.
Started recording. It's up to you, Chris.
All right. I just wanted to welcome everybody to the September 14th monthly meeting. Glad to see everybody here and available. Wanted to let everybody know that the open shop's continuing in September. We're still limiting the shop to 10 persons, and we're still trying our best to use the sign up genius to reserve a spot. I think the only time where I saw we were pushing 10 persons maybe in the shop was when we had the Freedom Pin pickup the other day. And I'll get into that a little bit later here. I want to take a chance to thank all the shop openers that are continuing to show up. And Anthony, I know you've covered many of the Wednesday, Thursday nights when there wasn't an available shop opener. We really appreciate that. I think open shop is the heart and soul of our organization. We did have an organized shop cleanup. We did have we were pushing around 7 to 8, 9 people at one point. We didn't probably get as far as we would like to as far as organization, but we did get a lot of the dust out, a lot of the chips that were underneath machines and things that hadn't been touched for a few years. We tried to get those swept up and out of there. Jeffrey did a wonderful job of getting the wood rack cleaned up. So it all looked great when I left, and I really appreciate everybody's help. That we had quite a few of the open shop regulars that were there helping out, along with a few new members that showed up. Didn't even know it was cleanup day, but jumped right in there when they found out it was. So thanks for that. And big news is that Ann Molina and Shaun McMahon have worked real hard to create the new KCWT Etsy website, and it is up and running now. And the site is called Hand Turn KC. You should have seen an email. If you didn't see that email, or maybe you went past that email, go back and read it. It's got some good information on how the club site is set up and opportunities for you to set up your own site linked to the club site. Our site will be based on member donations, and Ann Molina has volunteered at this point to kind of help get it up and off the ground. So if you happen to have any questions in regards to setting up a site or quality items that you would like to donate, I'm sure if you could get in contact with Ann, she'll help direct you. And I know that there will be a little bit more information probably to come in the next few months as we get this thing rolling. But if you get a chance, jump in there and take a look. There's only about 8 items, I think, on there right now, but we're always available for any donations that anybody want to make to add to that. Let's see. Oh, just wanted to mention, as always, if you're in the open shop, we had a report of something on one of the jet lathes that needed a little maintenance. If you find something that needs maintenance, don't just disregard it. Let one of the KCWT board members or shoot an email to the KCWT board. Let us know, and we'll try to address those things as we can. Another reminder, if you're using the Amazon, KCWT is available to use for Smile donations. If you haven't heard of the Amazon Smile program, I think Kevin has sent out an email on that. You could search for that, or probably contact Kevin directly if you needed any information on how to set that up. Mark Inman has provided a pressure pot, and it is available for club members to use. It's on the rack next to the wood rack that has the tarp over it. Just know that you're using it at your own risk. Please use caution and understand what you're doing before you get started. If possible, let somebody know when you're taking it so that we know where it's at. we can kind of keep track of it. And the big news is that we're going to try to have an organized event along with the woodworkers. It's in the theme of a Christmas sale. It's kind of geared through the woodworkers. It's geared towards building a toys for children. As they walk through, they'll construct a truck. And I think the last stop is going to be with us, and we'll create a turn a top, and the top fits into the truck that they build. This is kind of one of our only opportunities this year for outside income into the club and to raise some money for the club through sales. So we're looking for member donated items and not big items. We're thinking Christmas ornaments, Christmas themed small projects will probably be best, probably in the $5 to $20 range. But there will be opportunities, and Shaun would be the person to ask, but there will be opportunities if you have personal items that you want to have a table of items to sell. It'll be a 2-day event, and it will require a lot of member participation. So Shaun will be getting a sign-up sheet set up, and really hope that anybody that can volunteer some time and assistance and spread that out amongst the members, so it's not on one person's shoulders too much. Let's see. Oh, the big thing on that would be any member that can provide either experience or ideas concerning getting the word out on social media and advertising that's possible on social media. You might ask some of your family members if they have any experience with in social media, and especially posting information like that. It'll be up to us to try to stir up the public probably a lot, so spread it through word of mouth. Shaun will have some more information in the near future, but there was, if any members that are on here that are Kansas City Woodworkers Guild members, there was information in their newsletter this month that kind of explained a little bit about their approach to that. Just keep it in mind. And I think, was it the 16th and 17th, Shaun?
Yeah, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving.
The 16th and 17th of November. So not a whole lot of time, but think about turning a few little items that could go out there for sale for the club. And if you have any interest, think about having a table out there as a vendor. Let's make this a success. It's a good opportunity. I'm sure there are people out there that are dying to get out and get someplace and find some unique items. And I think we could certainly provide some of those and have a little fun with the kids while we're doing it. So Jack, if you could go to the next slide, please. Still plenty of club member support opportunities. And Melina has been nice enough to kind of take on the Etsy site initially, but it's not something I think that needs to be Ann Melina's responsibility the whole time. So if anybody's got a thought about trying to help Ann or want to take on that responsibility, once, I think we need to get our feet under us a little bit, but I'm sure Ann would be happy to help you or transfer that responsibility down the line somewhere. Let's see, Woodchip's monthly newsletter. Shaun put out an email and was asking for people to send in ideas, photos, and small articles on the projects that they had. I talked to him last Saturday, and he said he was real pleased with the results and had a lot of people that had sent information or photos and stories behind the projects to him, and he'll start getting those into the wood chips. I think he's got more than he could fit into the wood chips in 1 month, so he's going to kind of spread them out through a few months. So if you don't see your project there this month, then wait for the next few months and keep looking, because it'll be there.
They can still send stuff in too.
And yeah, we're still looking for any new projects, new ideas, new little articles to go along with them. Story goes a long ways when you're looking at pictures. So just a note here to, you know, anybody that would like to, we've got, you know, probably not even a third of our membership on tonight, but anybody that would want to consider being a board member at large, we're always welcoming on the board. So touch base with us through email. Let us know your interest and we'll be getting a hold of you. Let's see, Kevin Neely, our club treasurer and webmaster and so much more, would like updated photos of members and their favorite pieces for the website. He would put your photo along with one of your favorite pieces or maybe a couple of them onto the website. Great way to kind of get a little exposure and show off your project. So if you have time, send Kevin some information, some photos and a little bit of information, and he'll get that stuff to the website. If you need help getting some pictures, I'm sure we could coordinate that too. So just contact Kevin if you want to participate in that. Let's see, September silent art auction donation was provided by the Top Guys, and it features a one-of-a-kind Jerry Darter hand-turned handle top turning tool, along with everything you need to learn to be just like Jerry Darter. Or just have some fun turning some tops. So the auction will be open until this Friday. So we still got an opportunity. I think we've got some good bids on that. Kevin, do you know what we're at right now as far as the bidding?
Unmuted now.
Okay.
$120.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it includes a couple hours of one-on-one help turning a top. So you not only get the kit, you get some instruction for those that need the instruction, how to actually do it.
So that's provided by the whole group of the top turners, and club thanks you guys very much for putting that together. It's a fun auction item to have out there, and we enjoy it. Let's see, the meeting October 12th. Oh, okay. Mike has set up with Dave Bartlett from the Northland Club for the October demonstration monthly meeting to do a double captive ring goblet demonstration. I think some of us have done those in the past. They're great gifts. They're great wedding gifts, and they're fun to learn to do. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Oh, did want to mention too that next month's silent auction item will be Tony Giordano. I hope I got that name somewhat close. He's provided a nice piece. Oh, there we go. Giordano. Okay. Of a Osage orange vase that includes some polymers, I think. There was an email went out today that I saw, and it is a beautiful piece. Please take a look at that piece and consider putting in a bid on it. And Tony, thank you for providing it to the shop.
This is Kevin here. I won't send the email out advertising Tony's silent art auction piece until a little closer to the end of the week, after the latest silent art auction piece is sold.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw that, Kevin, and it came to me, and you were telling me to include it in tonight, not that you had sent it out to everybody. So my apologies.
In a week, I'll send it out to the membership.
Okay, so look forward to that. Take a look at Tony's piece. It's a beautiful piece. Let's see. Oh, I did want to say, let's see, November meeting will be another live stream. It'll be from John Beaver, and there will be more information to come. This is a turner that Mike Thomas is familiar with, and thinks he can provide us a fun demonstration. That will be a request for donation type demonstration that we'll do again. Appreciate anybody that can throw a few bucks towards the club to keep the opportunity to have some of the professional turners live streaming in. Did want to mention that the kickoff for the KCWT sponsored Freedom Pins event has taken place. We had the pickup on August 22nd, and I could not believe how quickly we went through about 150 slimline pin kits. Several people were taking 10 or more that they're going to go back, turn, and bring back to send to the troops overseas. So really appreciated the club's involvement in that, and how quickly I pictured waiting for 150 people to come through and grab a kit each, and hadn't imagined how they were going to take multiple. So the fact that in an hour and a half's time, we had 150 distributed, and I fully expect to get 150, maybe more coming back. It was super. That is a program that Mark Inman is kind of heading up. We're going to obviously watch our demonstration tonight. So anybody that needs a little brush up on turning pins can get it tonight. And then we're going to have the finished pins turned in not until October 31st. And the reason we left that wide open like that was to give plenty of time for people to turn the pins, but also we're going to try to send them back around Veterans Day, which is in November. So that was kind of our plan on that. Okay, Effie is not here tonight. He couldn't be here tonight, but I just wanted to mention, you know, Effie always has a safety moment, or we've been introducing Effie and a safety moment for several months now. Without Effie being here, we can all still remember to keep safety in mind, and always remember to stay safe when you're turning as much as possible. If it looks crazy, it probably is crazy. Let's see. Tonight we have the opportunity to watch club member and club secretary Shaun McMahon do a demonstration on turning pins. And I believe it is both a kind of a video and live presentation. So looking forward to that. And with that, Shaun, I'm going to mute myself and let you take over tonight. Okay?
Okie doke.
All right. Thank you.
I think.
Shaun, you're muted.
Unmute. All right. Now I got to get my, where'd it go? Kevin and I did this on Wednesday, and my mind's so short. Here we are. Is that screen share up?
You're sharing the screen. Yeah, you're up.
All right, this part has some sound to it, so you might want to turn your volume up.
Everything else would be so similar. This is a little bit about the hardware. Probably the biggest piece of hardware you need to have is the mandrel.
I'm not seeing it.
This is the thing that the blanks get put on.
Shaun, I'm seeing you, not the video.
And it usually comes with a nut.
Exactly.
Wow. All right.
We realize we're wood turners, not IT people, right?
Are you sharing the screen, Shaun?
I thought I did.
Try it again.
Let me,
We
You
will
got
be
to
able to
find the
see your
screen that has
computer.
it's the one that has the red line around it, I believe, the screen that you select.
see that? Well, now it's not working like it did on Wednesday. Share.
There.
I think we're getting there now.
Okay, it's screen sharing. You see the pens? I got all the stuff on the right-hand side and I can't get to the,
If you hit that little button up in the upper right corner, down, not that one, the one that was just below that.
In the bottom right corner of your video, there's an expand.
I can't get there because there's pictures on the right-hand side. I can't get to anything on the right-hand side of my screen.
You should be able to pick the pictures up from the Zoom meeting, if that's the pictures you're talking. You should be able to pick them up by the top tab and just push them to the other side.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
You're
on.
there. Good going, Sean.
All right. Just as some pictures of a pen. If you have your audio up, you'll be able to hear the rest of it. There's a part here that this hardware part's got voice behind
Thought
it.
I'd give you a change of scenery, so everything else would be so similar. This is a little bit about the hardware. Probably the biggest piece of hardware you need to have is the mandrel. This is the thing that the blanks get put on. And it usually comes with a nut that puts pressure on the blanks so that they'll turn. There's a couple of different kinds of mandrels. That one's adjustable with a wrench. This one is adjustable with these keys. And it's really important that this mandrel be straight. And of course, there's the drill bit that you need. We're going to be talking about a slimline pen, which is probably the most popular pen turn, and it uses a 7mm drill bit. And then after you drill it out, you face it off by using a pen mill, and the pen mill has these inserts, and they come in a wide variety of sizes, as you can see. And depending upon the pen that you're making, use the side that fits down inside the tube so that it makes the face of the blank perpendicular to the hole, and it just grounds it off so that it makes it nice and flat. After doing that, I usually use a reamer to go around on the inside of the tube and make sure that there's a slight chamfer, and it cuts off any rough stuff that might be on the end of the tube. And I also like to use what's called a mandrel saver. This actually goes on the end of the mandrel, slides down over this. Some people will take the nut off and put the mandrel saver right over the top of it, pushing against the bushings. These are the bushings. Bushings come in various shapes and styles because not all pens are created equal. But these bushings all have to fit onto the mandrel. So if you're making a pen that has a bigger hole and you want to make the size right, you use a different size bushing. Some bushings are kind of large, and the one that we're going to be doing is a slimline, so the bushings are small. You buy the bushings with the kits, or you can buy the bushings when you buy the drill bit. But the bushings are incredibly important because that's what's going to determine the size of the blank. So this is all basically the hardware that gets used.
The pen kits are all over the place. You can get them, if you just go on Amazon, you can get them. You can get them from Craft Supply. You can get them from Arizona Silhouette. Any place that provides information about wood turning supplies and so on. We're good. This is a slimline kit, and it's going to show you everything that comes with it. It's obviously the ink, and that's how people tell whether a pen's good or not, whether it writes with that. So you got to be careful. Then you've got the tubes. Those are the things that are going to go on the inside of the blanks, the pen blanks. That is the clip for the pen, and that's the center band. There's the transmission. That's what you turn the refill into. Then you have the nib. And this is what gets pressed in and holds the pen blank or the clip in place. Now, depending upon the kit, you may have more parts. I think that this kit is about as few parts as you can get away with, unless you're making one of the pens that Mike Thomas showed us how to make. Cutting the blank uses a wide variety of things. Now, I got this jig from Penn State Industries, oh gosh, it's got to be 10, 11 years ago. And you can see in the center here, you put one of the tubes in, and this measures it. And this space over here is the length of this. So you get a constantly repeatable cut when you're making the blank. You can measure it out. There's any number of different ways you can do it. Penn State's got another jig that's available now that looks a little bit easier to use, perhaps. I put this on a sled that I made for the bandsaw. And you can save those little pieces if little cutoffs if you like to make little small things. So all the wood becomes usable. But it's a very, very easy and very repeatable process. And it'll work with any size pen. I've never found a pen that it didn't work with. Oh, that piece there looks like you can make a nice little goblet with a captive ring on it. And that's, you just cut up a whole lot of blanks. Working with this Freedom Pen project, the process was, okay, cut as many blanks as you possibly can, Shaun, and then drill the hole. I use the lathe to drill the hole. And put a little dimple in the end of it there. Anthony showed me how to do that. Then just bring the drill up. I usually make about 4 or 5 passes depending upon the wood. The harder the wood, the more passes I make because it can heat up pretty fast. And I use a little brush to drill the hole out. I have no idea why these things are coming up, by the way. They've got jigs that you can use with drill presses. You can take and just measure it and drill it by hand if you want to with a drill. The idea is you just want to have the hole that goes through the center of the pen blank.
Shaun, with the way you cut those off on the bandsaw, do you even have to use the mill? It seems
Oh,
like
yes.
you're.
Yeah, I purposefully leave some exposed at the end, as you'll see here, because it's really important to face it off with that mill.
Okay.
The bandsaw, I've never found one that didn't have a blade that wandered a little bit. And that means that that face isn't going to be perpendicular to the hole, or it's going to have some waves in it. And then the center band won't fit right. And there'll be some spaces in there. So I think it's just a good idea to use the pen mill. In gluing the tube in, you want to make sure that you have roughed up the tube. You can buy some kits now that are coming with tubes that are already scored, and that seems to work really well. You can also use a variety of glues. A lot of people use CA glue. I stopped using CA glue a number of years ago because I had people that were returning pens because the tubes came loose from the wood. If you bang it really hard, it's not that thick and it can break loose pretty well. I've used epoxy, and I found this tight bond glue that works really, really well. Put it on with that pen insertion tool. Move it around a little bit. It's got plenty of working time on it, so I put some extra glue that gets pushed back on the tool, slip it in there, push it down a little bit so that there's a little bit of wood that's proud of the tube on both ends.
Shaun, what's the dry time on that glue?
I let it dry overnight. I'm not in a hurry.
Thanks.
If I was in a hurry, I might use 5-minute epoxy, but with this, this is a polyurethane glue, and you'll see in a little bit, it expands quite a bit, and it makes that tube in there really tight, and some of it'll squeeze out the end. See right here. This is what'll happen. The glue squeezes out the end. You know you got a really tight fit, and this has been drying, well, if I remember correctly, this one was drying for about 24 hours. So
A
then
lot of
I,
those polyurethanes recommend giving it a little spray of water. Do you try to do that with it or not?
no, I haven't used any water on it at all, Mike, and I haven't had any trouble with it. It just dries beautifully.
Okay,
Yeah, it's like Gorilla Glue,
right.
but it didn't even say use water in the instructions on the bottle. And but I tried it. It's just a pain in the whatever. It adds another step. I mean, you can do it if you want to, but I haven't bothered to do it, and I haven't had any trouble with it.
Okay.
So here, I just use a vise. You can use a jig. You can use a drill press. You can. I've seen people take the pen mill, put it in the headstock on the lathe, and push the wood onto the pen mill that way. Any way at all, I just simply use a vise, sit there with my little hand drill, and drill away. It's not particularly deep, and I drill until I'll pull it out a couple times. So you can see around there that there's some brass showing. Okay, and it's generally a little rough. So that's when I take the reamer and I ream around on the inside. You can see some of the brass coming off. It makes it nice and smooth. One of the things I wanted to mention about the pen mill, I remember Bud Shanky talking one time a while back about he was turning for a while before someone asked him if he was sharpening his tools. And years ago when I started making pens, I must have used the same pen mill for 2 years, and it kept getting harder and harder and harder. And then somebody said, "Well, did you ever sharpen your pen mill?" I said, "No one ever said you needed to." Well, you need to. I know Kevin Neely's got a pen mill that uses a carbide tip. Kevin?
Yeah, I bought one from one of the companies. Forget which one. It has carbide. It stays sharp a long time, but it's real aggressive.
You saw, yeah, you also said it was real aggressive.
Real aggressive. It can get away from you unless you're real careful. So I don't use it much anymore. I like what you're using better.
Yeah. And usually, I'll pull it out a couple, 3 times because I don't want to drill half the tube away. Then just ream it out.
Gonna say I've got one of those carbide mills too, and I don't like it. It's way too aggressive. And I started sanding mine. So it's easier.
I'm with you, Larry. I agree.
But these are all blanks that have been drilled out and faced off.
So when you multiply and make several sets at a time, when you get into the turning mode, you're just flying through them, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you take one all the way through the process, that just adds so many hours to it. But doing it this way, it's more efficient, I think.
Do you remember to write the name of the wood on the little blanks after you get them that far? Do you have to identify it?
Yeah, yeah. If you're going to put a little card in with it or whatever, you need to make sure, because if you write it on the wood, it's going bye-bye. And so you need to keep track of what it is. And here, most of the mandrels have a Morris Taper 2 on it, so you just jab it into the headstock and use the, there's one bushing on there already. I tend to use the smaller bushing in between the two blanks, then use a longer bushing at the end. Now, I was one of those people that didn't use the nut, and I pushed the pen saver right down on top of the bushings. But then one of the things that I found out was that in doing that, I was putting a lot of pressure on the bearings here in the headstock. So I went back to using the nut and turning the nut down as hard as I could so that it would hold the pen blanks and stop them from spinning. And then I would use the pen saver, put a little pressure on it, just enough pressure so that it would spin right and wouldn't put any pressure on the bearings here in the headstock. Now, what do you use to turn a pen? Use anything. I tend to start off with the spindle roughing gouge simply because it's efficient, removes wood rather quickly. But I also sometimes just like to play around with the skew, and I make entire pens with nothing but the skew, or sometimes I'll use a spindle gouge. I have a little detail that I put on pens, so I tend to use the spindle roughing gouge at the beginning, and then I tend to finish up with the spindle gouge. I also tend to just, I mean, you can use it back and forth. I don't know. I just learned to just move in the direction of the cut, and it works out really well. I tend to make the clip end of the pen using nothing but the spindle gouge, spindle roughing gouge. Now, one of the things I tend to do also is with this end here, these two ends on the clip end of the pen, I tend to leave a little wood proud of the bushing because I'm going to do some sanding. And if I found out the hard way, if you take this down to where the end is right where the bushing is, and you start sanding, you end up with metal parts that are too big for the blank. And so I tend to leave that proud. I've never measured it. It's not very proud. But I have a little detail down here. I tend to like to have this part be wider than the blank so that when you're pushing on the pen, you don't just slip off the pen, especially if your hands are hot. So I leave this little detail down here that I turn with a spindle gouge. Then I do spin it, but before I move to the next grit on the sanding, I sand with the grain.
If anybody has any questions at any point, unmute yourself and ask questions. It's okay.
Now, what I do when I finish the pen is I like to use sanding sealer. So what I'm putting on right now is some sanding sealer.
What kind of sanding sealer are you using, Shaun, and what's the dry time?
It's deft, and I just spin it till it's dry. And then I use Kirk DeHeer's scratch free. I don't know why. It just makes it smoother. And it does tend to fill up some pores a little bit as well. And I used 1 coat of sanding sealer. I'll use the scratch free 1 time.
Does the friction help that scratch-free stuff at all, or
Yes, it
is
does. Yeah,
just a little heat and friction?
yeah, it does. And there's a slight abrasive in it, and it really does make it, it makes it feel smoother anyway. And I also use the heat on this to put a little detail right up there by the nib. You can see the smoke coming off. It's burning a little line right around that edge. Just because I like to. I think it's cute. And then I use the Doctor's Wood Shop Pens Plus. It's a shellac-based finish, and I'll generally put 3 coats on. And it's a friction thing, so I'll rub some on, and then I turn the speed way the heck up, and do it till it's dry. And you can tell when it's working. It just takes your thumb, you put your thumb on it, you can tell when it's dry. But it gets really bright and kind of hard underneath, and that builds up a lot of heat. And so after I've done that, then I can start to assemble it. And the way I assemble it, I've got this pen press. People use their lathes. People use the drill press. I know one guy that just puts them together with a little bit of a hammer. And
I use my vise.
yeah, this stuff here is like I said, 10, 12 years old. And I put marks on the bottom of it. So when I'm assembling the nib into the nib end of the pen blank, if I set it right around in here, I've got plenty of leverage and I don't have any problems. And then I also put the, while it's set here, I put the clip onto the clip end of the pen as well. You don't want to put it on there. You put it on the round part. That's the one that gets pressed into the clip end of the pen. Then I can open it up. And this is where I'm going to put the transmission in.
And it does matter which end of the transmission you put in.
Absolutely. There's a little line right here and there's a brass part. And that brass part is what gets pressed in. And you don't want to go past this line right here. Now, the advantage in doing a whole lot of pens at once is that you have all the pens the pen blanks are the same size. And you can pretty much, I'll probably check twice anyway, but I think on this video right here, I was able to get right up just before this, which puts the refill right where I want it. There's a line there. There's a little indentation actually.
So don't push it too far in.
If you push it too far
On the
in, you got
initial.
this is going to extend way out. And then
Okay.
when you retract it, it won't retract all the way in. So I like to have it, if you recall the refill, there's a little shoulder that comes out. I like to have that shoulder right about where the end of the nib is. That's just my personal preference. Mike Reynolds has different preferences, and I'm sure Larry does too. They're both pen makers. Then you can put the, well, if you got big hands like I do, you sometimes drop parts. And that's the assembly. And of course, to make sure you got a good pen, you want to make sure the refill works, so you write on a piece of paper. But you can see it when you put it together, you can line up all the parts and it looks so pretty. So that's kind of it.
Good job. Nice demonstration, Shaun.
Yeah, nice
You
job.
got any questions?
Have you ever used a CA finish?
No. I figure if I want to make a plastic pen, I'll use acrylic.
I saw you had the Parafix there. Do you ever use the Parafix? I mean, it, I guess, is a CA.
No,
but-
I use that for filling cracks or something. Once in a while, there'll be a slight split in a pen tube or a pen blank, and sometimes I'll take and I'll put some of that CA glue in there. I'll mix it with some dust and or whatever to fill it up, or maybe some turquoise or powder or something. You can't use stone on it because it's just not deep enough. But
I use the Parafix as a finish item on the pins, and you got to be careful not to glue your pins to the bushings when you're doing that. But it makes a pretty hard, nice polished finish. But you're probably right; it's more brittle. You know, if you do bang it up against something, you're liable to have more damage than some of the other finishes. But
yeah, and I like the I like the feel of the wood.
yes,
You know,
and you lose that with the Parafix a little bit.
Yeah.
I've done some with some cut polish, and that works pretty good. The only problem is if you do a friction finish like that, depending on what wood you're using, sometimes the heat will cause it to crack.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, you use the CA finish a lot, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I found that Parfix 3408 is even thinner than what the normal thin is. It'll soak in, and like Chris was saying, it'll clog up your bushings, get those locked onto the mandrel, all that kind of good stuff. So you want to be careful. They do make oh, I forget the numbers on them, but Perfects does make a thin and a medium glue also, which would be more comparable to the normal thin and medium CA glue.
And I think Ann Molina was telling me that you can make bushings out of that, I want to say plastic, but I know it's not plastic. It's the thing that some cutting boards are made out of. But,
HPBI or something.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
and that then you don't have the glue doesn't adhere to that like it does some of the metal. And I had to make a wood bushing, and I had to really watch that I didn't glue the wood bushing to the rest
Sure.
of the pin. So
And you need to be careful too, that when you've got those metal bushings, that when you're sanding it, it doesn't discolor any light wood that you might have. So if you put in the plastic bushings, that will keep the color cleaner. Or sometimes
good point. because
And
I
do you
did
have
notice
trouble
that.
Do you have trouble with the plastic bushings sanding down?
Yeah, you
No.
have to remake them every now and then.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
can
saw
buy those
some.
plastic bushings and just, I use them just for finishing or even for sanding. And so it doesn't matter if you sand it down because it's not giving you the diameter there that the original bushing is. But they're super handy for sanding and for finishing. I've never done the CA finish, but I know it helps to not glue them to the blank.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I generally put a couple of coats of satellite city glue from Woodcraft. I'll put 2 coats of light on there, the thin, and then go to a medium and put a few coats of that on there, and it gets me a great finish, I think.
Oh yeah, that's going to be almost a plastic finish on the outside at that
Yes,
point.
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? It lasts a long time.
you can polish it up like glass too.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I understand. You know, a lot of people just like, well, they're kind of like monkeys. They like the shine, you know. And I'm not particularly a big fan of the shine. I like the sheen or the patina. I think I've got the first pen I made 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I still use it. And it's got this patina on it just from the sweat from my skin or the oils from my skin from use. And it is just absolutely got a richness to it that you just can't get any other way.
Well, and the ability to touch wood, to feel like you're touching wood is,
Yeah.
you know, you get away from that when you get to the real hard finishes and the real shiny finishes. You're more feel like you're touching plastic a little bit more or
Yeah.
something.
This is true. People seem to buy the shiny finishes better than they do the dull.
They
Yeah.
like the shiny, especially the ladies. The ladies like shiny, and they also like natural edge, whatever. I don't know why, but they do.
I've tried making a natural edge pen. It doesn't work too well. It just doesn't. I don't know what the problem is, but I keep losing the bark.
Well, one thing about the pins, I grabbed 5 kits the other day at the pickup and came home, and I had forgotten how much fun it is to turn pins and how quick they are, and you get instant gratification right then. And but I remember when I was turning pins, how many unique things you could turn into a pin, and how many combinations with acrylics that they had done, or you know, coffee beans and deer antlers, and you know, just different things that they had turned. I'm sure Anthony's probably turned a giraffe leg bone or something before into a pin, no telling. So.
I've seen people take those short cutoffs, glue them on together, and make a pen out of those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I've seen people and I've done this, take them and turn it down and use it for the center for instead of the metal bands.
Oh,
yeah.
It's 8 o'clock.
oh, that's a good idea. Make your own center band.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. You have
colors.
a different color wood. You know, if you make an ebony pen, you use a real white holly for the center band.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you
Looks
can do the
real
same
pretty.
thing for your
Real
cap
pretty.
on the clip.
Or you use,
Oh, make your cap out of wood also.
Yes.
Yeah. I made them out of bone and put ebony as a center band. That looks really rich, especially
wow.
if you're using a black kit,
Yeah.
you know. So there's all kinds of
took-
things you can do. I mean, turning pens is fun.
Yeah. It's creative too. I mean, you can really
Yeah.
kind of
I
put
took
your
a
own
cross
twist
train.
on things.
Mike?
Say that again, Mike.
I took a cross Purple Heart one time, and I was having troubles with the edges. They were so thin, the doggone grain was peeling out on me. So I took some red Corian and put on the two ends, and boy, that made a really sharp looking pen out of it.
Yeah.
And I've had people want acrylic on one end and wood on the other. You know,
Sure.
I don't like that personally, but some people do.
Yeah.
I took a pen that was called a teacher's pen. It had a red
I've got
ink on one end and a
Yeah.
blue ink on, and I used a white acrylic. Let's see. No, I used a red acrylic on one end and a blue acrylic on the other end, and in the center I had a white, and I called it. The pen was fine. It turned out great, but I was so proud of myself because I named it. It was called Red, Right, and Blue.
I've made one similar to that, only with a wood center, you know.
Yeah.
So, Shaun, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to put that together. It was a great production once we got to it. So good
Yep.
job.
Thank you.
I think we can kind of move now into our challenge projects from last month, which was